Chris is here. He's just getting all his equipment ready.
No Dan?
Not yet. He'll be here.
All right, welcome everyone. Notice is hereby given that due to the novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic and recent executive orders issued by the governor, the Town of Islip Zoning Board of Appeals hearing scheduled for Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021 at 6 p.m. will be held electronically via Zoom webinar. Instead of an in-person public hearing, it will be streamed live over the internet. Dated 1/22/2021, Islip, New York. John M. Lorenzo, Chairman. First application tonight is number 57-21, Elizabeth McCarthy. Permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-602 and to leave egress window having a front yard of 20.5 feet instead of permitted encroachment setback of 22 feet. Residence B District, south side of East Cedar Street, number 12, 300 feet west of Prospect Avenue, Central Islip, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
She has not yet registered. This is Roxanne Trella's case.
Okay, so
And I don't see her client either.
with your permission, Mr. Chairman, we will skip over the first two cases and go to item number 3.
I'm with you, sir.
Application number 59-21, Brennan P. Reagan and Deneen M. Anderson Reagan. Permission to leave shed having side yard of 0.3 feet instead of required 2 feet. Residence B District, east side of Sunset Road, number 19, 422.86 feet north of Montauk Highway, Bayshore. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes, Tom, am I co-host? If somebody is co-host can move Christine Fay into the panel. I think there's a little mistake. I'm not co-host yet. Thank you, Tom. Here she comes.
Here she comes.
Yeah.
Unmute, start video. Hi, everybody. Christine Fay, Accurate Expediting, 286A, Belmont Avenue, West Babylon, New York.
Hey, Christine, how are you?
Good, all showered and ready for tonight's hearing.
All right.
That was totally unnecessary, Ms. Fay.
Well, last week was funny. Okay, so we were before you last year, 2020, for chicken coop. They moved chicken coop to a conforming location, and the shed part, they actually went off the fence. And if you look at the survey, you could see where that area was. But they moved the shed.
Do you have another, do you have something else that's on, Miss Fay? Because it's echoing really bad.
No,
No? Is it only me that's getting the echo or someone else getting it too?
no, I'm getting it.
I'm getting it
I
as
hear
well.
the echo, echo, echo,
Take me out and put me back in.
echo.
It's a little bit better right now. Maybe something will shut off.
Wait, it says Zoom.
There you go. You're good now.
Yeah, you're doing good. So you hear just for a shed 0.3 instead of 2. We see them many, many times, as you know.
Yep.
I don't think that's too much of an issue. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? I don't see, is Chris on yet or no? I don't see him. Ms. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Have a great
You too.
night. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Next application, number 60-21, the Happer 2020 Irrevocable Family Trust. Permission to leave one-story addition 27.1 feet by 30 feet, having a side yard of 14.8 feet instead of required 18 feet, and to use dwelling for family use only. Pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-419.1, Residence AA District, east side of Walnut Avenue, number 735, 200 feet north of Kathy Lane, Bohemia. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
The applicant is here.
The trust is here.
It's Brad Happer. Brad, you have to unmute yourself. There you go.
No,
No.
Mr. Happer is still muted.
Can you hear us now?
There you go.
Hey, Mr. Tapper, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Mr. Happer, before we start, did you happen to grow up in Holbrook?
Absolutely.
He just said he knows you.
Raft Avenue.
There you go. Well, we knew each other once. It's been a
Absolutely.
long time.
Been a long time. Yes, it has been.
Now, you had a
You've known
brother as
35
well, didn't you?
Yes,
Two brothers.
two brothers, Scott and
Yeah,
Adam.
Adam, I think, was my age, right?
Yes, he was. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I always do it all the time because
You'll-
he's down in Florida now. So, it's like,
Yeah.
you know what? And Freddie and Camille Weber and, Tommy Caligeris.
Sure.
All
Well,
those
listen, that
guys.
was my paper route, remember?
Exactly.
A
Exactly.
long time ago.
A
Now
long
the
time
world
ago.
knows more about me than it needs to. Go ahead, Mr.
Well,
Chairman, I'm
yes.
sorry.
Not a problem. I love to hear this. This is great.
Oh, this is old time stuff. Oh, my God.
Mr. Happett, name and address for the record, please.
Sure. 735 Walnut Avenue, Bohemia, New York.
Great. And you're here to seek permission to leave a one-story addition, 14.8 instead of 18. It appears from the survey that the house holds 14.8 as it is, and it just went straight back. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah, we didn't exceed the original variance that we had when we first
Okay.
built the house.
Sure. And you're looking to establish family use only. It's based on medical for your mom, I believe my notes say, right? Is that correct?
Well, it's
For you,
actually
for him.
more for, I'm 61 now and
He's had a couple of accidents.
my
so-
shoulders are shot. So it's kind of like, you know what? I need my help from my son to, mow the lawn and.
So, but it is based on medical though, correct?
Exactly, yes.
It is-
Mr.
It
Mr.
is,
Happer,
John, we have the documentation in the file.
it's
Great.
just not encouraging when your wife is saying it's a series of unfortunate accidents.
Yeah,
so I
no
don't know.
kidding.
Yeah, 'cause
Little-
I
it's a little
"Oh, you see
suspect."
this property? I gotta mow it.
It's a
If
little
my son's
suspect.
not there, I have to do it.
Oh, man. Okay,
Perfect. Everything's
send
in
me
order
down the
now?
river. I'm sorry. Okay.
Everything's in order, Mayor?
Yes, everything's in order.
All right, great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion that we grant the application for a
Second.
period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate your time.
First name, please.
Whose first name?
Mrs. Harper's first name?
Mrs.
Mrs. Tapper,
Harper,
first name.
it's Kathleen.
Kathleen, great, thank you.
All right, next
Mary,
application.
Is Roxanne, sorry to interrupt you, but is
She hasn't.
Roxanne?
I'm going to contact her once I move this next person in. I'll contact her. She may have neglected to attend because during the other case, she may not know she had one on. So
Is Dan with us too? I can't see.
I don't think he's here yet.
Nope, not yet.
Okay.
All right,
So-
next application number 61-21, Nor Medical Care PLLC, permission to leave mixed-use building having a front yard of 24.5 feet instead of the required 25 feet and a side yard of 9.5 feet instead of required 10 feet, GST District, south side of 3rd Avenue, number 136, 100 feet east of 4th Street, Brentwood, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
He's here. Just give me a second.
Take your time.
Well, he registered today. Anybody see John Gleason on here?
I see Mr. Sullivan.
Yes, hi, Dan.
I am sorry, I was having technical problems. I apologize.
No worries. Good to see you,
miss-
Dan.
You too, guys. Good to see you. Did we start yet?
We did. But we're off to we're limping. We're limping a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself.
I don't see the applicant or the applicant's representative. If you look at the call of the meeting, we're talking about inches, I think, that was off right prior to the CO being issued.
Yeah, I don't foresee an issue with this, but I'm assuming they want to create a record. Right?
Well, I mean, if it goes favorable for them, then
So you want to just go through with it and see what they say after the fact? If they do?
I mean, it's such de minimis relief. I don't
Concur.
Okay.
I don't see an issue with it.
All right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Is Nicolia here or no?
Yes, but I just logged in, so I don't even know what we're voting on.
All right, Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Application granted. Have a great night.
All right, I'm out of here. Thank you. Next application number 62-21, Kobe Frempong and Vida Elorum Ayim. Permission to erect second-story addition, 25.5 feet by 40, it says 40 inches. I believe it means 40 feet. Having a side yard of 12.2 feet instead of the required 14 feet, total side yards of 24.3 feet instead of required 28 feet, and floor area ratio of 29.08% instead of permitted 25%, and to leave a shed having a side yard of 1.8 feet instead of the required 2 feet. Residence B District, south side of Mississippi Avenue, number 56, 350 feet east of Brentwood Road, Bay Shore, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
He is.
Yes,
Yes,
Evening.
applicant here.
All right.
Good evening.
Name and address for the record, please.
Kobe Frimpong, 56 Mississippi Avenue, Bayshore, New York.
How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Good, good. I have a note here that you possibly may have an architect that's going to be representing you. Is that true?
Yes.
I'm on.
Oh, okay. There you are. Sorry.
It's Tom Trufaro, 1165 Broadway Avenue, Holbrook, New York, 11741.
How are you, sir?
Good, very good. Thank you.
Go ahead. State your case. I'll let you go.
Sure. We're just looking to build an addition over an existing house. We're not encroaching on it into any side yards at all. It's a pre-existing condition. Of course, the house is built right in the center of the property. As you can see, they split it 12 foot, 12 foot. And we're just taking a portion of that. We're favoring the one side and we're not building over the garage area.
Great. So you go right over the same footprint and you have a floor area ratio of 29.08. We normally
Yes,
see
sir.
10%. So that holds right under our threshold. And you have a shed 1.8 instead of 2. Seems de minimis. I think you'll be okay.
Perfect.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicoli, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Have a great night.
Thank you very much. Stay safe. Thank you.
You too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good night. The next application number 63-21, Ralph and Christina Ayasi. Permission to establish two-family, family use only pursuant to Islip Code section 68-419.1, Residence Double District, west side of Brookville Avenue, number 270, 175 feet south of 44th Street, Islip, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes, I am the architect.
All right.
How are you, sir? Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, sir. Name is Todd O'Connell, architect doing business at 1200 Veterans Highway, Hauppauge, New York.
How are you, Mr. O'Connell?
Very well, and you?
I'm doing great, thanks. Go state your case.
Alrighty. Basically, the Ayasis are looking to build some space for her daughter and her two kids. She, I believe she was going through a divorce and she needed a place to live, and she's moving in with mom and dad. In addition to that, her dad has had some surgeries where he, having her there at the home would be beneficial to him, so she could assist in his care as well.
Great, so the notes that I have here says it's based on age. Is that correct?
That's correct, yep.
Great, okay, awesome. And everything's in order, Mayor?
Yes.
Everything is in order. Yes, he keeps the house shipshape.
Great. Mayor, you have the file. Everything is approved in the file from in order?
Yes, everything's in order.
Great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application granted.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone. Stay well.
You too. Next application. There are two on the same property, Mr. Chairman. Do you want to hear them together or separately?
I think it's the same, it appears to be the same professional, so I would say hear them together.
All right.
There's actually three, the third being a different name. But
Okay.
once we introduce the representative, I think we'll get explanation about that.
Are we going to
Okay.
hear them together or separately?
I
Well,
would like to hear them together if we could. Is that okay?
it's fine by me. All right.
Great.
So then I'll read all three and then we'll let the applicant's representative make his pitch. First item is number 64-21 GSM 717-25 LLC. Permission to maintain overhead doors, loading bays facing Veterans Highway and Broadway Avenue, and to allow 1.5 feet of landscaping on Broadway Avenue instead of the required 25 feet. ICD Industrial 1 District, ICD being Industrial Corridor District, northeast corner of Broadway Avenue, number 725, and Veterans Memorial Highway, Holbrook, New York. Second application on this parcel, number 65-21, GSM 717-725 LLC, permission to install retaining and sound attenuation wall having a combined height of 24.4 feet instead of the permitted 6 feet, Industrial Corridor / Industrial 1 District, northeast corner of Broadway Avenue, number 717, and Veterans Memorial Highway, Holbrook, New York. And the last one, application number 66-21, Lazy Burr Company Co. LLC, Town of Islip IDA, permission to use barbed wire atop perimeter fencing in violation of section 68-406E Industrial Corridor District / Industrial 1 District, northeast corner of Broadway Avenue, number 5901, and Veterans Memorial Highway, Holbrook, New York. Mr. DiNicola, are you here for the applicant?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Mr. DiNicola, how are you tonight? Name and address.
I am just Inky Binky, and I thank you so much, and I hope the board is as well.
Well, I hope the court reporter got that hinky dinky, was that?
Inky Binky.
I don't think I know that word.
My best.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, with reference to the third application that was read, Lasber Co. LLC, case number 066-21, the applicant is withdrawing that case.
Okay, that withdrawn.
So
Mr. DiNicola, just for the record, we're hearing these together. You don't have any objection to that, do you?
I don't, but I'm going to present them separately because they are separate issues and separate tax lots. But that's fine, Mr.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Really quick, Mr. DiNicola, board, are you guys hearing every other word, or is it my connection?
I'm having a terrible connection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. DiNicola, can you just say a few words just to make sure we have a good connection for you?
All right, can you hear me now? No.
Well, I hear you.
I think it might be his headset.
Did you have a headset on?
We're gonna change his headset.
We're gonna switch headsets.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
I did.
Yes.
It's like you're taking off on an airplane. I like that.
Yeah, something like that. I'd rather be in person, to be perfectly honest, after 58 years.
So would we,
Yeah.
Mr. DiNicola. So would we.
Listen, 400, it's 400 Main Street doesn't seem too bad anymore.
Yeah, the chairman pines for 401.
If I may proceed, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Plan.
I'm sorry?
Maybe this was all part of a big plan to get John to like where he was.
It's true. It's all just a plot to make John like 401. We went to
Go
global
ahead, Mr.
pandemic.
DiNicola. Follow through. Go ahead.
At this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the engineer put up an overall site plan of the 3 parcels.
Well, the 2 parcels or all 3? You're going to
Well,
still...
I think it has all 3, but
Gotcha.
okay. Are you set, Courtney? Okay. Can you see that, Mr. Chairman, members of the board?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Appearing on behalf of the applicant, Eugene L. DiNicola, 200 Railroad Avenue, Sayville, New York. In case number, I'm going to start with case number 64-21. And I won't read the applicant's request because that has been read into the record by Mr. Messina. The subject parcel is commonly known as 725 Broadway Avenue, Holbrook, and is located at the northeast corner of Veterans Memorial Highway and Broadway Avenue. To the east is a large industrial building on approximately 12.3 acres, and that is designated lot 8.2 on the diagram that's on the screen. To the southeast is a large industrial building on approximately 7.8 acres. To the north is vacant property zoned for multifamily residential use, CA zone. It is owned by Fairfield, to the best of my knowledge. Along Veterans Memorial Highway is a mix of multifamily uses, industrial uses, and commercial uses. Also, if you went north on Broadway Avenue, it is a mix of industrial buildings and multifamily developments. Now, the subject site, and we're talking about tax lot 8.1, which is being marked. The site has erected thereon a 122,721 square foot industrial building with attendant parking facilities on 8 acres of property. The original industrial building was issued a certificate of occupancy on November 3, 1967, and successive additions were added and issued COs on December 20, 1967, and March 16, 1972. The existing overhead doors and loading bays were part of the industrial building when it was erected and added to. There are parking stalls on the west side of the building at Broadway Avenue and some parking on the south side of the building. Curb cuts exist at the northwest corner of the parcel and the southwest, and on the southwest at Broadway Avenue.
Is this the old Consumers?
I
No,
believe it
this
is.
is-
No,
this is the old
Consumers was
Cheap
to
John's.
the east.
This is the old Cheap John's, if you remember that. That far back.
Okay, there is a, a travel drive on the south side of the building for vehicles to traverse from Broadway Avenue across the subject site to the adjoining industrial building known as 717 Broadway Avenue.
That
The
was
southern
Consumers,
triangle of the of tax lot 8.1 or 725 Broadway Avenue is currently unimproved and vacant. The applicant proposes to develop the vacant unimproved area for the purpose of constructing approximately 231 parking spaces. If you could mark that area where that area is currently vacant and is going to be improved for parking. The parking will be used in conjunction with the readaptive use of the warehouse building at 717 Broadway Avenue for an Amazon distribution center. Now, the subject site was zoned all industrial 1 when the existing industrial building was erected and added to with its overhead doors and loading bays, which remain to this date. In or about March 5th, 1985, the Industrial Corridor District was enacted, which zoning district created a 300-foot strip along the north and south sides of Veterans Memorial Highway. The first 300 feet of the subject site was included and affected by the ICD zoning enactment. The subject parcel is now split zoned between Industrial 1 District and Industrial Corridor District. Since the Industrial Corridor District is the more restrictive zoning and the applicant wishes to amend its site plan, it is required to address the requirements of the ICD to add the additional parking previously referred to. The applicant has applied to and received a special permit for a warehouse use from the Planning Board on January 6, 2021, pursuant to the ICD requirement. As required in the Industrial Corridor District, the applicant also requires relief from that section of the ordinance which states that in the Industrial Corridor District, no overhead doors shall face a street. This board obviously has jurisdiction to grant that relief. Now, the subject industrial building has been in existence and operating since 1967, or approximately 54 years, and has been issued certificates of occupancy for all improvements, including the overhead doors and loading bays.
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Nicole?
Yes.
The dark line that crosses through the, I guess you'd want to call it the
northwest southeast.
Southeast corner. That's the line you're talking about with the industrial corridor. And where are the doors in retrospect to that line?
I didn't hear the last part. That is the zoning line that separates the Industrial Corridor District from the regular Industrial 1 District.
So just a portion of the doors are in the new industrial, quote unquote, new Industrial Corridor District.
The overhead doors, because it's split zone, Mr. Chairman, we now, the engineering department and planning department has required us to get relief from this board to permit those doors to continue to face what amounts to is the Veterans Memorial Highway. And there is a a door at the northwest corner of the building facing Broadway Avenue.
Okay.
If I may, how many overhead doors do they plan to erect?
Oh, they're not erecting any. We're just leaving the ones that are there, Mr. Wexler.
And how many other are there?
Do you recall?
I mean, is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
There's got to be 6 or 7.
Okay, thank you.
At least. Whatever is there will remain, Mr. Wexler. No overhead doors will be added.
So they've been there in violation of the code for all this time?
Well,
not in
fairness,
violation.
Mr. Wexler, yeah, it pre-existed that. There was also some litigation on these parcels that it predated in my tenure as town attorney, but the result, for whatever reason, the town didn't pursue it, and so those things were allowed to stay there. So
I'm sorry, the litigation, how did, I don't
the
have.
town didn't pursue it, and so it was ultimately dismissed. I don't know why. It was before my time. The other thing I will say, and Mr. DiNicolo is probably going to reference this, I'm sure, because he's very thorough. This was once a Superfund site. The building at lot 8.1 was formerly Gold Disc Recordings, which was a record factory, and there were all kinds of pollutants that were dumped into the soil. And so this is kind of the best possible ending you could have hoped for these parcels, given their history and existence.
I believe, Mr. Messina, there has been, or in the past, and I'm not personally familiar with it, extensive cleanup that has occurred at the site.
Absolutely. But who would have thought, in 20 years ago, that we could have achieved this result? I don't think anyone could have even dreamed that was something this good. So
this is an excellent result that will occur if the board grants the relief we're requesting this evening. If I may continue, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
As the board will note this on the site plan, the overhead doors cannot be installed, or they cannot be changed to the north side of the building, as there's only approximately 15.8 feet of setback to the north property line, and it's not possible to have tractor trailer trucks maneuver in a 15.8 foot space. On the east side of the building, as the board will note, is lot 8.2, which is 717 Broadway Avenue, again with inadequate space to have overhead doors between the two buildings. Thus, the only location for overhead doors is where they exist on the south side of the building. And those overhead doors are approximately 300 feet from Veterans Memorial Highway. The applicant will be creating approximately 51 feet of landscape and screening along Veterans Memorial Highway, which proposed landscape area does not currently exist. Right now, it's just flat, sandy, ugly land, and it will be now landscaped with trees and other foliage. Now, as to prior grants, the planning board granted relief to permit overhead doors to face a street for a warehouse building at 4641 Veterans Memorial Highway, Holbrook, on December 21, 2006, case number PB 2006-27. That's the Roma tile building you may be familiar with. Sure. And this board, the Board of Appeals, granted relief to permit overhead doors to face a street at 4661 Veterans Memorial Highway, Holbrook, by decision dated October 3, 2018, case number 698-18. That building is yet to be erected. In the instant case, this is a pre-existing condition in which everything will effectively remain the same. Now, with regard to the reduction of the landscape area to 1.5 feet along Broadway Avenue, it is due to a sidewalk easement that the Islip Engineering Department has requested for the purpose of pedestrian passage to circumvent an active existing pad mount Verizon telecommunications distribution box. That's a mouthful. So it is currently located there, and with the sidewalk easement and the distribution box, there will only be 1.5 feet of landscape to Broadway Avenue. The total length of this reduced landscape area is approximately 30 feet of the total frontage of approximately 374 feet. So the total depth of the existing landscape area on Broadway Avenue is approximately 5 feet to 5.5 feet. It is a condition, again, which has existed since 1967. No portion of Broadway Avenue has a 25-foot landscape area setback for this property. That is a requirement of the Industrial Corridor District. And since the site was developed 54 years ago under the Industrial 1 District, that is the landscape setback area that has existed since that time. So if the requested relief is granted, again, for this, the two items that I have been discussing, the 1.5-foot setback and the loading bays facing a street, there will be no change produced in the character of the neighborhood. The site will remain the same as it has for approximately 54 years. In fact, it's going to be improved. Now we're going to have landscaping, we're going to have paving, we're going to have a much more attractive site, and there will be improvements.
You're also going to improve the face of those buildings as well, aren't you, Mr. Dean?
Yes, there will be improvements to the facades.
Thank you.
There will be no detriment to nearby properties, and the requested relief will have no adverse effect or impact to the physical and environmental conditions of the neighborhood. With regard to tax lot 8.1, I respectfully request, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, that the board grant that relief.
So do you want to hear, how do we want to do this, board? Do we want to hear the second one also? And
Well,
I don't know,
before we do that,
wanna-
if I can just ask a question or two for
Sure.
clarification, Mr. DiNicola. I think I heard you say that well, let me put it this way. In the application, there seeks a variance of 1.5 feet instead of 25. So at
Correct.
first blush, my kind of back of the envelope math says that's about a 95% relaxation. What is the reasoning that we should have no problem with that?
It's a pre-existing condition. The entire landscaped area, if you would point that out, along Broadway Avenue is only 5 feet, 5 to 5.5 feet, which was developed 54 years ago under the Industrial 1 zoning. So it's a pre-existing condition. And
okay, how did the 25 foot setback came later on?
Well, Verizon installed let me quote it again. I got this from.
I remember you said it was some sort of long word.
Yeah, it's only for a distance of 30 feet of the entire frontage along Broadway, Mr. Wexler. And
Okay.
It's because there is that Verizon box there that cannot be moved, they tell me.
Okay, but my question is, at some point in time, did the town institute or require 25 foot of landscaping?
It became a 25-foot setback when the Industrial Corridor District was passed in 1985. But this was a non-conforming use. This was pre-existing. So it does not have to be, the applicant did not have to install 25 feet. It would take away the entire parking on the west side of the building. So that again, the building existed and was developed under the Industrial 1 requirements.
I understand that, and it's not earth shaking. I understand the reason for the relaxation. It makes sense, but it may be a pre-existing condition, but I still think it's not a pre-existing condition that it's as of right, obviously, because you're making changes to the building, and under the zoning law, you'd have to bring everything in conformance, I should say, correct?
Correct.
Okay, it's not like it's a pre-existing building that nobody's made any changes, the code change, here you're making changes, so, okay.
Mr. Wexler, what I think Mr. DiNicola is saying, there's no possible way other than taking out that whole parking.
Oh, no, I heard him.
Yeah.
I heard him. He's doing a good job.
Thank you, Mr. Wexler.
Don't let it go to your head, Mr. DiNicola. Stop.
That was really more of a shot at John. It's a compliment. Now, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wexler. I will pursue the next hearing, which is case number 65-21. Thank you. The applicant is requesting permission to install a retaining wall or sound attenuation wall having a total height of 24.4 feet instead of the permitted 6 feet. That is tax lot 8.2. And if you could just designate where that sound attenuation wall is, please. You'll notice that's where the wall is that we're talking about. Now, it's to be erected on tax lot 8.2, and those premises are commonly known as 717 Broadway Avenue, Holbrook. It is an interior industrial building on property located approximately 455 feet east of the northeast corner of Broadway Avenue and Veterans Memorial Highway. Now, as we previously discussed, there's a large industrial building adjacent on the west, which is the property we just discussed at 725 Broadway Avenue. And there is a large industrial building adjacent on the south, which is known as 5901 Veterans Memorial Highway. That is in front of the subject parcel. To the north, again, is the vacant property zone for multifamily residential use, CA zone. I believe, again, the property is owned by Fairfield. On the east is vacant land zoned Islip Mixed Use Planning Development District.
That's the old Sirota property, right?
The Sirota property. That's the Islip Pines development, which has been recently, maybe I know not so recently, approved. To the northeast is a residential development on Bishop Lane. It's a cul-de-sac that comes from north to south. The subject site has erected thereon an industrial building containing 147,881 square feet with parking facilities on 12.3 acres of land. The original portion of the industrial building was issued a certificate of occupancy on February 9, 1961, and an addition thereto was issued a certificate of occupancy on March 16, 1972. The subject parcel is entirely within the Industrial 1 district. This is not part of the Industrial Corridor District, although the ICD district does touch at the corner, but it is not any portion of the subject parcel. The industrial building is located on the westerly portion of the 12.3 acre site, as you will note. Now, the easterly 350 plus or minus feet of the subject parcel is currently vacant with a steep grade from the building itself to the property line. It drops off approximately 24 feet. The subject site currently has access only to Broadway Avenue across the parcel tax lot 8.1 or 725 Broadway Avenue. The applicant proposes to develop the within industrial building, which is currently vacant, an Amazon distribution center. It will also construct a 39,790 square foot canopy at the front of the building, beneath which will be a van loading area. The applicant will further raise the grade of approximately 3.75 acres of the eastern portion of the property to the grade of the existing industrial building. That's bringing the grade up almost 24 feet, some 68,000 cubic yards will be required to complete the fill project. The 3.75 acres of land will be utilized for parking for vans and ingress and egress of tractor trailer trucks between the loading bays on the east side of the building and the Veterans Memorial Highway. The raising of the grade will require the construction of a retaining wall approximately 14.4 feet in height, of which 3 feet will be above the finished grade, if you can picture a parapet. And we do have a diagram which you may be able to see showing the parapet. And then on top of the retaining wall, the applicant is going to construct a 10-foot sound attenuation wall for noise abatement from activities which may occur on the east side of the building once the distribution center goes into operation. Now, the sound attenuation wall will be constructed along the north side, south side, traveling north around the curve, south. It's going to be approximately 650 feet to abate the sound traveling to the north and the northeast. I have a cross section, which we did put up, again, showing the 10-foot height of the retaining wall and the 14.4 foot 10-foot sound attenuation wall, 14.4 foot retaining wall. So the total from the lowest point is 24.4 feet. Now, the purpose is to block and reflect any noise that may travel north or northeast to any residential area. When the planning board approved the special permit for the outdoor overnight parking of registered vehicles as accessory to a warehouse use, it required as a condition of the grant that a retaining wall with a sound attenuation wall be installed totaling a minimum of 24 feet in height, and that was done January 6th of 2021. Now, with regard to the sound attenuation wall, it is called a tough barrier, TUF barrier wall, designed to reflect unwanted noise. It has a density of more than 4 pounds per square foot, and it has excellent sound reduction performance. Additionally, it can withstand considerable wind live load and hurricane force winds. The type of wall has been the sound barrier for demanding sound mitigation systems for railways and highway noise barriers. The sound attenuation wall will be set back from the north property line approximately 90 feet, and there will be approximately 145 feet of distance from the sound attenuation wall to the property line of the single-family residences that front the cul-de-sac of Bishop Lane. The area between the location of the proposed sound attenuation wall and the residences will remain in its natural state, as you will notice in the diagram where we have showing the tractor trailer truck. The sound attenuation wall actually was originally 8 feet in height proposed, but the planning staff requested it be increased to 10 feet. The planning board again has approved special permits for the proposed use of the subject premises, as I have indicated on January 6, 2021. And again, a condition of approval was a 10-foot high retaining wall with a 10-foot high sound attenuation wall on top of a 14-foot retaining wall. The retaining wall obviously required to hold the fill. If this variance for the height before the board, what's before the board is the height of the sound attenuation wall. There will be no change produced in the character of the neighborhood. The subject property and the adjoining industrial buildings are located in an industrial zone. There will be no detriment to nearby properties. The applicant is installing the proposed sound attenuation wall for the benefit of the adjoining properties. There will be no adverse effect or impact on the physical and environmental conditions of the neighborhood. The proposal to erect the sound attenuation wall is beneficial to the neighborhood, and the requested variances are not substantial in relation to the proposed benefit it is intended to create. The distance from the nearby properties, which is 145 feet to the property line, and then the house is probably another 40 or 50 feet. And the screening that is proposed mitigates the requested height of the sound attenuation wall. So I hope I've made it clear to the board, and I respectfully request that the application be approved for this subject premises. And if there are any questions, I will attempt to answer them.
Great, thank you, Mr. Nicole. I believe there's a few people that would like to be heard on these two applications.
Fine.
Does anyone wish to be heard in the application?
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask a question or two, please?
Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Mr. DiNicola, what is, it looks like it's scrub oak, but what is on the, I guess that would be the eastern side of the sound attenuation wall? Is it residential? Is it commercial, industrial?
All right. Do you see the yellow line, Mr. Chairman, on the east side? Mr. Wexler on the east side?
I do.
That is the property line. On the east side, it is the Sirota Isla Pines development. That nothing, it's pine, it's vacant land, it's treed. I don't, the mixed development over there is multifamily, is commercial, is office. It's a whole host of
Mixed use. It's truly mixed use.
of mixed use development. And what immediately is proposed next to this property, I don't know.
Okay,
But I
so
know
let-
it needs, then if you go, if I could just
yes,
continue.
no, go ahead.
At the northeast corner where
Yes.
where it's being indicated, there is a cul-de-sac that comes down from north to south, which is a residential single-family cul-de-sac. Okay, that will be 145 feet from the wall, from the corner of the wall to the property line. So, and then on the north, north of that, the yellow line, that's it. That is a CA zone, Mr. Wexler, and I believe it's owned by Fairfield Properties with, I guess, the ultimate, they build, as you know, multifamily rental properties, and it is zone CA. So that is the residence on the north. The northeast is single-family residence. It's just a little cul-de-sac at Bishop Lane, which I'm sure the speakers are here for. And on the east side is the Sorota development, Isla Pines.
Okay, so were I to be standing on the east side of the property line, looking at the sound attenuation wall, it would be from that vantage point, what, about 13, 14 feet high? Because I understand the other side is a depression.
It will be, well, you have the retaining wall starts at the lowest grade, which is 24 feet down, and you'll have that 14 feet up, a 14-foot retaining wall. I'm trying to describe it as best I can. Then that retaining wall will be 3 feet above the proposed grade, where they're going to have where they're going to develop parking, and then on top of that, a 10-foot retaining wall. The purpose of the 10-foot retaining wall is to completely, a 10-foot sound attenuation wall is to completely block the tractor trailer trucks, which generally have a height of 13 feet. So with the 3-foot parapet above the finished grade, and then the 10-foot sound attenuation wall, that will completely block any tractor trailers and the noise that they would generate.
So
I
looking at this
understand,
from
but
the Sorota property, oh, I'm sorry.
No, if I may, I understand that you want to block the sound. However, what would the person on the other side of the fence be looking at? A 13-foot wall, a 14-foot? My concern is it going to look like a prison wall? That's what it's going to look like.
It's going to look like a, we have some pictures up now. It's going to look like a, what do you call it? A vinyl, like a vinyl fence, something like that.
But I'm still trying to get what will be the total height from the ground? Because as I understand it, on the inside where the property is, there's a depression.
It'll be 24 feet, Wexler, from the ground, or if you're standing in the
24
woods.
feet high?
Yeah, if you're standing in the woods in Sorota's property, you're going to look at a wall, technically 14 feet of retaining wall, and then 10 feet of sound attenuation wall on top of it. So that combined wall would be technically 24 feet.
24. I guess my concern is, in my prior profession in the DA's office, I had gone to some prison towns. I remember going up to Coxsackie to speak to some witnesses. And the first thing you notice when you go into those prisons is these huge walls. Isn't that what it's going to look like?
No, because you're looking at a wall at grade. This is going to have trees. Could you put up that the other? This is going to have trees. There's all natural growth that's going to remain between the sound attenuation wall and the property line. And again, the primary concern would be the residence to the northeast, and that's all going to remain natural for a distance of 145 feet. And the applicant is going to be doing additional plantings in front of the wall to even block it off more, to screen it better, or to screen it. You will see something There is, I'm sure, but
And Mr. DiNicola, the planning board, I'm assuming the planning board is requiring these plantings to somewhat cover the wall, right?
This is Courtney Riley.
I have, let me put the engineer on who is designing it and is familiar with it. If I may, Mr. Wexler, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
This is Courtney Riley from VHB Engineering, 100 Motor Parkway, Hop Hog, New York. The amount of plantings that are being put in between, I'll say the existing vegetation, there's over 105 trees that are being installed. Of those trees, they're green giant, arborvitae, red cedar arborvitae, and eastern arborvitae. At the installed height, they're going to be installed at about 8 feet tall. So out of this 14 feet of retaining wall is going to be initially covered by 8-foot retaining wall at installation. The trees that are being installed, again, the green giant, the eastern red cedar, and the eastern arborvitae, get anywhere between 25 to 30 feet, in some cases 40 feet tall over time at mature growth. And again, there's an existing vegetation. One other thing to note too is today, those residences do see the building. It is a building, and the building is staying at the same elevation because it is the same existing building. What we're trying to do is, again, because of the grade, is that, again, we're adding that 14-foot wall because otherwise this, again, comes down, and then the sound wall on top of that. And just going to some of these photos.
Do you have some photographs of what the existing, I'm just trying to see what the trade-off is going to be. Right now, the residents are going to be looking at an existing building. Now they're going to be looking at a 24-foot wall. I'm just trying to figure out which one is.
They're going to be looking at
I asked you if you have any photographs.
I can try to pull them up if I take a pause and we have other questions.
All right, maybe later on, because I want to see what the people looking at now. Maybe it'll be an improvement.
Well, Ms. Wexler, just to interrupt really quick, I apologize. I believe that only one corner of this parcel has residents looking at it. The rest of it is just vegetation. It's undeveloped land that's a part of the Islip Sirota Pines, correct?
Correct, sir. So the only resident, there's one single, there's a resident here. There's a, you know what, I'm going to pull up Google Earth. Just give me one second.
I know exactly what you're talking about, Courtney. I just, my one quick question to you, just so I can, for my own records here.
Yes, sir.
The retaining wall that's being proposed on the Islip Sirota Pines area, how many feet of vegetation between the property line and what you're planting with the 8-foot and the 40-foot approximate maturity level is vegetation between the property line and that? I can't see on my.
Sure. So it does vary. Let me just go back. So this is that 145 feet. This is the approximately 92 feet to the north. It does vary and tapers off, as you can see on the Sirota property.
Wait, say that again. Show that again, because I had to scroll
over. Sure. Okay. To the north is the 90 plus feet.
Right.
Okay, here. That 145 feet is where the residence is on this corner. And then because of the way the property line is, and the property line is not square, the property line is at an angle, it varies.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Do we have any aerials on this, Mary?
I'll pull it up. Give me one second.
Mary, do we have any aerials?
We do, but Deirdre had
they have control over the share screen.
Yeah, Deirdre had to stop sharing to allow VHB to share. So Courtney indicated she would pull up the aerial right now.
Also, do we know what this sound attenuation wall will look like?
I believe Mr. DiNicola said it looks like vinyl fence.
Oh,
it was just up.
Of it, or was that just a picture of?
No, I think that was what it was going to be.
That was what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
That's what he stated. Yeah, I believe that's
okay.
It's going to look like a vinyl fence.
Okay. I don't want to hold up the meeting if, oh, there we go. Okay. So can somebody point out, please?
Sure.
Orient
So
us.
again, to the north is a vacant piece of land that is owned by Fairfield.
Right,
To this is the Sorota property right here.
right.
This is at the corner. This is the Bishop Lane and the residences
Yep.
along that cul-de-sac.
And that's 145 feet between the northeastern corner, I guess the southwestern corner of the cul-de-sac?
So currently, right now, the building which is going to be remain the same. We are improving, again, from here over, as well as the parking. The 145 feet, if I take a measurement,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
that's
How come we can't do
approximately, this is approximately the 145 feet from that corner.
Okay, and so again, so the parking is going to be enlarged to where the box is on our screen?
So the point that you see on your screen is essentially where that retaining wall with the sound wall on top of it's going to be. On the other side of that sound and retaining wall is going to be the drive aisle where the trucks would drive, and then the parking lot, loading, and then building.
Okay, so just so I know, right now it looks like there's maybe twice 145, so maybe 300 feet.
You're
And
very
that's going
close,
to go-
331.
331, okay, look at that. And that'll go down to 145 feet. And let me see. And that's where the retaining wall will be. And does it go around to the north side also?
Yes, sir. So it goes around the north side, comes around all the way down along the Sorota property. And then when it comes around towards the FedEx, it's just it tapers off. The retaining wall tapers off.
Okay.
But
All
but
right,
the sound wall installed, again, if there was anything built to the north, if there was residence built to the north, they would handle that. There's obviously residence at this corner. And then whenever the future Sorota property comes in, the sound wall would be along that entire property line.
Okay, I appreciate that. The next question is, since we're talking about a sound wall, why is a sound wall necessary? We don't get many sound wall applications. I don't think we've ever had one. Maybe.
Oh, I made one.
All right.
Were you approved?
Did we
Yes, I
deny
was.
it? Did we
All
deny
right,
it?
that's good.
Yeah,
Why, what is the need for, I'm sure
Sure.
that's not cheap to build, and I'm sure it's not something the applicant said, hey, let's build a sound wall.
I would have
Why
to assume,
is there-
Mr. Wexler, that those trucks are gonna be coming in and out all hours of the
Correct.
night.
How many trucks, what is it? Tell me.
So we do have Brad Griggs, you are here from Amazon. If you want to go through some of the operations.
I'm seeing 60 trucks from a Matthew Grucci.
60 trucks per day?
Is that correct?
That is not, he is not part of our team. So
I didn't say he was. I just
Okay.
asked if it was correct.
So
I'm gonna, the neighbors, I thought we were going to call the neighbors before, so I moved them into the panel, but
Okay.
I'm just gonna move them back over.
Okay,
Do you
can I
see a
get an
Brad?
answer? Can I get an answer to my question? How many-
Yes, I'm trying to get the Amazon person who's here. Do you see a Brad Griggs, Mary?
He's here, Brad. You have to unmute yourself. We
Thank
see
you.
So nobody knows from this August.
Yes, he's answering. If you just give him a second. He's from Amazon and he's going to talk to you about the operations of the facility.
Good evening, everyone. So yes, I'm
Thank you.
Brad Griggs. I'm a senior manager on Amazon's economic development team, covering our Northeast region, including Long Island. And what we're looking at here is our last mile delivery station, which has predominantly the line haul trucks coming in during the overnight period. And then we have vans that head out of the site during the morning. So the line haul trucks, about 80% of the total come in during the, call it 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. hours outside of the rush hour, with individual trucks coming throughout the remainder of the day, usually about one per hour, give or take.
Sir, not to interrupt you, but we asked a simple question.
Sure.
How many trucks?
And I'm getting the traffic study pulled up right now. because I
Okay,
don't
so
want
we don't need to
quote.
hear all, I mean,
Okay.
the planning board heard that, I'm assuming. They were
Yeah,
satisfied
correct.
with your answer. And all we need to know is the number, because Mr. Wexler, one of the factors we have to consider is if there's another way to achieve the goal sought by the applicant. And, part of that is going to be how many trucks it is that you're protecting the neighbors from the noise that are generated.
Mr.
That is
Messina,
generated.
Mr. Wexler, if I may say 1 second, Brad, we could put up a 6-foot sound attenuation wall and we don't need a variance. We're trying to put up a 10-foot so we can protect the neighbors from any sound when these
Well,
trucks
that's
come
true,
in.
but 10 feet has different impacts on the neighbors as well. And Mr. Wexler's just trying to close all the loops, so to
Yeah.
speak, I think.
I
And we recognize that this is Amazon being a good neighbor, or attempting to be a good neighbor. Whether or not the neighbors think so, I don't know. We'll hear from them in a minute. But, I mean, it's information that frankly is reasonable, I think.
Yeah,
Sure.
Also,
this has
what
all been
was-
going over with the planning board, but go ahead.
What
Mr.
was
Griggs, answer,
required by
Mr.
what was required by the planning board?
So
Exactly what we're asking for.
correct. The
You have covenants, Mr. Di Nicola?
We have special permit conditions and site
Okay.
plan conditions.
Are they in those?
Are they what?
Is this in those? This says the applicant will build.
Yes, 24
a-
feet.
Okay, so
So how many trucks per day?
20 so there are two answers there. One is our static non-peak outside of November 15th to January 15th is 21 trucks per day.
Are those tractor trailers?
Yes, those are 53-foot line haul.
And what about smaller vehicles, vans and?
So we'll have that for you here in 1 second. I just got to open up a different model there. The
Oh.
vans go out again, as I said, beginning at 10 a.m. So if you just give me 1 second, I'll pull up that
Yep.
and I'll have it for you shortly.
Mr. Wexler, I appreciate all of this, but wasn't this in front of the planning board of how many trucks and how many vans and the conditions
Correct.
of it all? Are we just here for the sound attenuation wall and the height?
Well,
Or are we here to
yes.
find out how many trucks and vans are pulling through this?
No, we're here for both, because if we allow this, it'll have companion effects. And I
But
think
they already
as-
allowed the amount of
I know,
trucks and
but-
traffic studies.
I know, but isn't this something will it have some sort of physical or environmental effect? We just
What
can't
sort of-
divorce ourselves that I want to build a 24-foot wall. Don't look behind the wall. Don't worry about it.
But
I
that's
think-
not here in front of us, so the 24-foot wall's here in front of us,
I think
not what's
we
coming
would
in behind
be-
the wall.
I think we would be remiss if we didn't flesh it out and do our job.
Okay, I appreciate it.
This
Number of vans.
This has already been discussed with the planning board, Mr.
I know, we've heard that already. I still want to know. I
Okay.
think Mr. Messina wants to know. I have that, look at that determined look in his eyes.
The number of vans outside of our peak operations is approximately 208 per day. And again, that begins at about 10 a.m. and concludes typically sometime between 12 and 12:30.
And peak is what, November 15th to January 15th?
Correct. That's when we staff these sites for peak. During that
Okay, so-
period, we will reach, maximum levels on sort of what we approximate to be about 14 non-consecutive days of when these sites will hit true peak. But we have the
What's-
ability to staff up to that.
What's the
that
peak?
level.
What's the peak number of tractor trailers?
We would anticipate somewhere in the low to mid 30s, depending on the day. But the highest level is mid 30s.
All right, so let's say 35-ish. And what about vans?
Again, I got to switch back to a different
Yep.
model. Just give me a minute. I would say it's approximately around 350 because it'd be an additional, most likely, 2 to 3 cycles, and there's approximately 50 vans per cycle.
Okay, are there any, maybe Mr. DiNicola knows this, are there any limitations? In other words, let's say Amazon's doing really well and they need 40 trucks, 50 trucks. Is there any limitation? You're giving us what your belief is as of now. What is
No,
there any
there's
limitation?
no limitation.
And again, I guess this is kind of driven by traffic. So, Mr. Griggs, do we know what the surrounding, it looks like it's industrial. Do we know what the amount of trips that trucks and vans have in those? I mean, is this in keeping? Is this going to be, I have no idea.
Mr. Wexler, so essentially from an operation standpoint, these van drivers arrive at the site, they park their cars, they get in the vans, they load under the canopy, and they head out on a 10-hour delivery route. They do not, they're not coming and going throughout the day. So they come in, they load once, they go out, and then they return in the evening after the rush hour period beginning at 7 p.m. in the same sort of staggered waves of approximately 50 vans per wave.
Okay. Just one other question, if I may. This may be for your engineer. I don't know if this is in your wheelhouse or Mr. DiNicola's. Do we know what the efficacy rate is of the sound attenuation wall? Does it block out 80%? What are the manufacturer's specs?
So we have a noise analyst, Jason Ross, who's is also here. Jason, can you unmute yourself and talk a little bit more about the sound wall and the modeling that we did?
Sure, yes. Jason Ross, 101 Walnut Street, Watertown, Massachusetts. I'm with VHB, noise consultant. So we conducted a noise analysis and did a evaluation of the noise wall and how much noise reduction it would provide. And that's very much a function of the dimensions and the height of the material. The material itself is not going to cause a degradation in noise reduction. We're getting about a 10 decibel reduction, 10 decibels from the proposed noise wall.
Can you dumb that down for us, Mr. Ross? I'm sorry. And I don't
Sure.
mean to, but I don't know what that means opposed to.
Yep. So 10 decibels is considered a halving of loudness. So if you hear how loud I'm talking now, and if I were to talk a lot quieter, and it was felt half as loud, that's a 10 decibel difference. The predicted noise levels would be in compliance with the Town of Islip noise ordinance, which limits noise to 50 decibels at night and 65 during the day.
You'd have to comply with that no matter what.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
So we got, does any, Mr. Wex, are you okay with any more questions?
Yes, they've all been answered. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? I know there's a few of us, so if we can, if Mary can pull you in one at a time, name and address for the record, and speak as brief spot, as clear as possible.
Yes, I'm up first.
Okay, yes, we have 4 neighbors who have indicated they would like to speak. So
All right.
please just go one at a time. I've got you all into the panelist frame.
So who's up first?
Pat, you want to go first or me?
Make a choice. Name and address for the record.
All right, I'm 158 Bishop Lane.
What's your name?
Matthew Grucci.
Thank you.
Yeah,
How are you?
I'm not hunky dory or hunky dinky as a lawyer as much with Amazon coming, but I'm okay, healthy. All right, so having Amazon's largest distribution site built on a Superfund site, I didn't even know it was a Superfund site until today. You're trying to knock out all those woods and you're going to disturb all that soil to raise that elevation, which I'm concerned about with my young children and myself having all those toxins now re-raised and brought up again. But that wasn't all my notes that I had. That's just a side note.
Mr. Grucci, to be clear, I was the one who raised that. It's a former Superfund site. It
Yeah,
is
but
no
we dig
longer.
and smell. I mean, I'm sure if we analyze the soil, I'm sure there's still some stuff.
Well, then analyze this. You can't say that. You can't make an allegation like that without some kind of factual basis.
Fair
in-
enough.
In
The
fairness,
nose
right?
test. No, fair enough.
I wouldn't let them do it either, by the way.
Right. I appreciate that, but will that be
Okay.
done when they
Bringing
start digging
in
up
soil,
that,
we're
or-
not disturbing.
Mr. Di Nicola, we hear you.
I will get disturbed though because you're going to rip up trees. But besides that,
Okay, I mean, that's fair.
with the wall being built, it's really a 14-foot wall, right? Because you really care about their side. I visited the Shirley site and I visited the Bethpage site just to get like an idea of what it would look like because I'm going to be living right next to it. Their bay door lights are going to have 10 of them that are pretty much facing my house at night. Those bay lights are 20 feet high. So having a wall that's 14 feet high isn't going to help me very much with lighting at night. Then I researched in Edison, New Jersey, they were talking about the vibrations. I'm concerned about vibrations from all the semi trucks coming in and out, especially during night times. Other than that,
Mr. Gucci, let me just your concern about lighting. I'm sure this came up at planning board, right? Did you go to the planning board hearing as well?
yeah, and that was supposed to be postponed. I wasn't aware of that. That got
Okay, so I am sure, I've not seen them, but having been involved in applications in this town for the past 30 years, I am fairly certain that there is a restriction, a covenant, a condition that requires them to keep the lighting onto their own parcel so it does not shine into your
Right.
backyard,
They
for
were actually
example.
zoned for so many lumens, and they were looking for.
Yeah, there's a whole way that they do that. It's above my pay grade, but they were required to do that.
Fair enough. So basically, I guess at the end of the day, right, Amazon's going to get built, and it is what it is. And unfortunately, I live there. My big concern is not having the wall high enough. If the wall's not high enough, I'm going to hear it. I'm going to see it, and so will respective homeowners.
How high would you want it?
I would like it to match the height of the lights. This way, at least I don't see it. I hopefully don't hear it as much.
Okay.
I can potentially sell without having people, come and then just run away.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gucci. Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application?
Yes, hi, my name is Patrick Holton from 160 Bishop Lane in Holbrook.
How are you, sir?
Have been better, honestly, with all of this. Also, with what they have displayed currently now, they portray in the conversations that all of the residential plots are to the northeast of that corner of the property. If you look at the 3 dotted lines, if you go back to your plan, because it's based on the plan that you're working on, that I am due north. So if you look at those 3 dotted lines directly inside of the corner there, yes, that is where my property line sits. So I am 90 feet from this wall.
You're on Bishop Lane, right? On the cul-de-sac?
I am at 160. So if you
Can
look
we-
at what they
hang on a second.
provided,
Can we bring up the aerial again, please? I'm sorry. And
He's that house
you're
right there.
right there, right?
yes, and if you
Okay.
would draw a line straight down, you will see that I am directly north of where they are looking to build the wall. It's not 145 feet of wooded area from my property line on an angle. My entire property will face directly south at a 90-foot mark. I will see a 24-foot wall with beautiful 8-foot arborvitaes in front of them, which also no one notes. It will be 100% shaded because of the 24-foot wall that they were built, that they are planted in front of. So they will be brown and dead within, I don't know, what's it take, 6 to 8 weeks for them to die. So that piece of it will be, that's going to be in my purview the entire time.
Mr. Holton, I'm sorry, it's Bill Wexler.
Yes.
What do you look at now? You look at the side of the building?
If you look out on the pool side of my property,
right
there, I can see the building. If I look to the south, I see woods, as you can see, all the way to FedEx.
But the side, I don't know, there's some information, a lot that I don't know. What is the height of the facade of the building that you look at? Do you know approximately, does anybody know? I mean, is it 22 feet, 23 feet? I'm just trying to draw an analogy. Is it 24 4-foot wall going to change things greatly? Do we know the height of that northeastern facade of the building? Does anybody?
I think
Height-
Mr. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
The height of the buildings is approximately about 22 feet. We could double check that for you.
Okay, thank you.
So
So
that's
I
20
understand it's coming closer, but there's a 22-foot wall there now.
At 330 feet,
Right.
not
Now,
90
that's true.
feet.
That's true. That's true.
And
But
what happens if this retaining wall that they're building, when it fails out over time, then what occurs?
Do you know what the useful life is expected on that? Mr.
Well, I
Holt,
mean,
no, I'm asking Mr. Holt.
Do I know? I have no clue.
Okay.
Right. Well, it's,
I
we really
suspect,
can't.
Mr. Holton, it's far longer than probably either of us will be alive. But,
Yeah, I mean, that's not one of the grounds, to be fair, that we could deny saying, what if?
right.
Something that's so speculative.
I mean, if you
That's
have
all-
evidence, bring it forward and let us know, and we will take it into account. But we
Okay,
can't
so I'll
speculate.
continue with evidence-based. The
Good.
center
Okay.
wall is noted at 13 feet. If you look at what they put, the trucks are 13.6 feet. An average tractor trailer is 13.5 feet. How is a sound wall going to block sound if the sound maker is actually larger?
Wait, do you
Also,
want a taller wall or a smaller wall? Which one do you want? Before you said it's a tall wall, now it's not tall enough.
what I want is to make sure that the noise, it's a combination of both, that there's an issue that they're stating that all of this is going to block sound, which enabled them to get things through the town, that it's going to block and keep sound below 50 decibels.
Well, Mr. Holton, John Lorenzo, I'm the chairman of the board. If the engineer, I don't remember her name, I apologize, can go back to that little the diagram with the truck and the sound wall and the, it appears, and they're gonna have to abide by this, that the wall, the retaining wall goes 3 feet above grade, and then there's a sound wall above that, which is higher than the truck, than the average truck. It shows there 13.6. It's just a little bit higher than the average truck. So they had this passed by planning board, and one of the reasons why I didn't want to get into what was behind the wall, we're here for height, right? So they had this passed and approved by planning board already, that it was going to be enough. That's why planning board had them raise it 2 feet, and that's why they're in front of us now for that 2 feet plus some, to cover the noise that a truck may make for that. That's right there in the diagram. That was, I believe, passed through planning board. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So
Also, Mr. Holton,
it was passed with improper information, because it states here.
Well, that's speculative.
That's for
so
somebody
these are-
else.
these are-
You go
It's
take
not
that to a court.
speculative.
No, it is.
145 feet is not 90 feet.
So if
Well,
you're
we're talking about the
dissatisfied
height of the
with their
wall.
decision, you can take it to Supreme Court, but we are honored, we have to honor it, okay? Unless and until such time as the judge says it was based on faulty evidence and throws it out, all right? That is a decision of the board, and it gets full deference here and full credit here.
also, Mr. Holton, let me just throw this in as an aside. If you're concerned about the noise, the town engineering department reviewed it. Also, we have a town code. And if they violate the noise code, which I believe we were told was 50 decibels, they'll be answering to the town. So it's not as though they took what the engineer said and treated it as gospel. The town also reviews it. So that's the counterbalance to the noise.
I know my concern is, in the town meeting, the attorney who's present representing them said that if we break ordinance, take us to court over it, and we'll see what happens. So that's my concern, is everyone was talking about no detriment, no impact to members of the community, that also, that these things are done to help us, not to hurt us. It's just a challenge.
Okay, well,
And
reasonable.
it will
Well,
look
it's-
like a prison yard.
It's skepticism is healthy.
Yep,
We applaud what your concern.
absolutely.
Do you have any further comments, Mr. Holton?
No, that's it.
You can speak. You're more than welcome to. I'm not trying to rush you. I just don't know if you were done or not.
No, I'm finished. Doesn't appear that it's going to matter.
But that's not fair. We're listening to you for the record, so. Does
Yeah,
anyone
we're
else
not
wish to be?
Mr. Holden, we're not doing this because we have nothing else to do tonight. We're asking a lot of questions because we want to know.
All right.
Does anyone else wish to be heard on this application?
Yes,
Please say your name and address for the record.
here they come. We have two other speakers. We have Robert Tufuriello and I think John Genova.
One at a time, please. If they can-
This is Robert Tufrell. You're mistaken. I don't wish to speak.
Okay,
Okay,
sorry about that.
okay, and I imagine
Anyone
the
else wish to be heard in this application?
Can we hear from planning, Mr. Chairman? If not,
Yeah, I think this Mary's pulling the last one in, and I figured to get the,
thank you.
No, I think that person didn't register, so they must have borrowed a link or something. So I've moved them back to attendee. I assume they don't want to speak either.
okay, great. As our vice chairman has asked, we would love to hear planning's position. Deidre Ryan, can you hear us?
Yes, so this was discussed in the planning board. I wasn't the representative there, so I'm not entirely sure about the whole discussion with the height of the soundboard and all that, but I believe it was Kelly, and I know she tries to do her best with what they try and require to help the neighbors and any kind of residences nearby. Our final concern really about it is the retaining wall itself. Although it's 145 feet from the residence on that corner, if there is any multifamily that's built to the east or to the north of the property, we want them to also have as nice a view as they possibly can. So I'm not sure. I know we reviewed the design.
But Ms. Ryan, this is proposed now, right? And whatever is going to be built in the future can take into account the existing condition of the wall, can it not?
Oh, my request was just that the split face for the retaining wall just be done as nice as possible.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying that, there's a benefit to being the first one there. And
No, there is. It
Right.
just gets to down here in the bottom, it gets to 12.8 from the property line. So
Right.
it does get very close at
Right.
certain points and just as nice as possible. Just that's kind of our only request. Otherwise, this was done with the planning board and they kind of handled a good amount of it.
Thank
you. Great.
And if I may just ask a question, Deidre, planning feels confident that the noise will be abated by the wall and everything else?
Yes, it was taken into account. We wanted it as high as possible to kind of, so people aren't looking at the trucks that are going in and out of the site.
Or listening to drugs.
It was done in mind with all the trucks that are going in and out as much as possible. There's only so much that can be done as well, according to the code and things like that. But I believe so.
Okay, and just to ask one more question, just so I have it in my mind. Is there there's no violation of the code with the number of trucks coming in and out? I mean, let's say it wasn't Amazon, it was some, I don't know, Windorama. Would there be a limitation on how many trucks could come in and out?
I'm not too sure about that.
I don't know if you could, Mr. Wexler, to be very honest with you, in terms of granting or denying special permit or variance. I think that the applicant, I'm sure the applicant submitted a traffic study, correct, Ms. Ryan?
I believe so.
And that's what you go on the basis of.
This is a 24/7 site, so I think that that's kind of kept in mind, and that's why the sound wall was kind of tweaked as much as possible.
Right.
It's not like they're not going to be working from a certain time to a certain time. In fact, they'll be, I think, more active at night.
But it also is an industrial area.
Right.
So it's zoned industrial. Thank you.
All right. DJ, anything further?
Nope, that's just it. Just the concern about the design and trying to make it as nice as possible for anyone that could possibly be living closer or nearby.
So how do you quantify that when you say as nice as possible? I mean, that's about as subjective as anything could possibly be.
Wouldn't you put that as part of site plan review, Ms. Ryan?
I believe they were discussing things a little bit with Kelly, so that's kind of, I know she was having a
I can
little.
speak to that. So VHB has been coordinating with Kelly in the planning office. We've submitted to her some paint samples as part of what the wall would be painted, the retaining wall would be painted in different colors. On the split face, due to the weight, we wouldn't be able to construct it. It does have to be a concrete wall in order to hold that sound wall. And so right now we're working with the planning department on what the color may be on the retaining wall. And also I did show some of what these walls look like. This is essentially what the sound wall will look like. We're going before the planning department right now, and looking there again. They're looking at coloring, so there's different coloring that they're looking at.
Right. We were requesting more scoring instead of just painting to make it look like it's more brick or look like it's stone rather than the split-faced open concrete. That's kind of more so what we were trying to get.
Understood. Yeah. So right now, exactly what we're going back and forth with is, what type of, maybe it be stamped, or what would be on this portion of the wall.
Sure. And
as well the coloring.
And that's what you're going back and forth with the planning department.
So it's correct. So as part of, before we go to the next step, there's an architectural review, and that is part of the architectural review process.
Yep. Understood. And like Mr. Messina said a few moments ago, when there is development in the future, if there is development outside of it, they would be building with knowing that they're building by this wall, and I'm sure they're going to have some sort of buffers and vegetation that they would have to plant too for their own development also. So.
Correct. And to the question, yes, the traffic study was prepared. The traffic study was reviewed by the town, not only the town engineer, but also the town had hired a third-party consultant that also reviewed and approved the traffic impact study and parking study.
Great. Thank you very much. Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Mr. DiDacola, would you like to have any further comments?
Yeah, just so the board understands, this application was thoroughly vetted by the planning staff with reference to lighting. Lighting plans were submitted. Sound was carefully reviewed. And with regard to Mr. Holton, what I had said that to the board was, planning board, was the town has a lighting ordinance. It has a sound ordinance. The applicant is obligated to comply with both of them. And in the event it should violate, the town has the right to bring the applicant to court, and there is enforcement for violations.
Sure.
That is what I had indicated in my presentation. I don't remember his other comment, but this application has been thoroughly vetted with regard to many questions that Mr. Wexler has rightfully asked and has been addressed. Right now, the discussion is with planning with regard to the appearance, to soften the wall as much as we can and screen it with plantings and a particular style. But the height was at the request of the planning board, and the wall goes up. The truck may and may not be 6 inches taller than the wall, but the noise is in the drive shaft and in the motor, which is much lower than the 10 feet. So that's all I have to say. Planning did approve it. There are many conditions that with regard to site and with regard to special permit conditions that have been agreed to and signed and submitted to planning. In closing, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I respectfully request that the board grant the relief requested for case number 064-21 and 065-21. And as I have indicated, 066-21 has been withdrawn. And I thank the board for its time and inquiry.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Chairman, I move that we reserve decision on this. Are we reserving?
What's your motion? That's what
What's
the
that?
motion.
I particularly don't see a need
I'm
for
not
it, but if
opposed
you
to
want-
deciding it.
I'm not opposed to deciding either.
Nor
If
am
you
I.
need to-
Nor am I.
Okay. I just
Alright.
wanted to check if anybody wanted to reserve. In that case, I will make a motion that we grant the decision, grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Application is granted. Have a great
Now,
night.
the question, that's in reference to both, correct?
Yes, right.
That's both, I understand. Is that not correct, Mr. Chairman?
That is correct. That is for application 064-21 and 065-21, both GSM 717-725 LLC. Both have been granted.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I appreciate the board's inquiry.
Have a great night, sir.
Thank you.
Next application was adjourned from January 19th, 2021. It's number 40-21, Dean Christopher Thomas and Natasha Skrimchenko Thomas. Permission to leave elevated one-story dwelling having a front yard of 21.3 feet instead of the required 25 feet, to erect decking over 48 inches high, leaving a rear yard of 10 feet and side yard of 11 feet instead of the required 15 feet each, to erect elevated shed having a height of 20.25 feet instead of permitted 14 feet, and to erect decking in one-story addition, all having floor area ratio of 41% instead of permitted 30%. Residence BAA District, east side of Schooner Walk, number 28, 240 feet south of Central Roadway, Summit Club condo. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Good evening, members of the board.
Good evening, Mr. Graham.
Glenn Graham with Graham Associates at 1981 Union Boulevard, Bay Shore, New York. I'm representing the Thomas family. Just going to pull this up a little closer. This application is essentially for a house lift with a modest addition to the back of the home. The applicant is seeking some minor relief on the east portion of the deck. East would be to the top of the page and also towards the right of the page, which would be south. In doing the house lift, we're also going to be sliding it slightly forward to accommodate just some small decking in the rear. And one thing seen in front of this board yet is the request for a height variance on the shed. And just to, I think planning will elaborate a little bit more on the height variance. There was a change in the definition of code on the height of, in general, height in general across the entire town of Islip, but didn't account for FEMA elevation the way we used to handle height prior to Sandy. So the town is in the process of correcting the height for Fire Island to be taken from FEMA the way we have been since Sandy. So right now we're caught in between problematic definition and the change back to what had been happening for the past 5 years. So this is the first of many applications you may see asking for some height relief, but in this case, we are just building an accessory shed on the deck, similar to hundreds of others we've built. I'm not asking for any higher than a 14-foot high shed, which was the code up until September 15th or so.
So just so I can understand, the shed's being built on top of the deck, and that's what's raising the height. The shed itself is still going to be within the 14-foot height permitted.
That's correct. There was a definition change to where we take height from average grade from where it was at FEMA. So that's the difference. I believe it's going to be changed back for Fire Island, and then the code will be consistent on the mainland with this new definition.
It's going to be changed back for all flood zones.
Great.
Mr. Graham, I'm sure you have plenty of precedent at 41%.
I do, and I would defer to planning, but I have a list of, I think we got about 75 pages foiled of different applications, so I will not go into those unless you wish for some
No,
specific case.
just at the end of the day, you have 2 or 3 within a 500-foot radius holding at least 41%.
We do.
You don't have a dune on this property, right, running through the middle, do you?
They don't. Or a sound wall.
Well, thank God.
Sound
for
wall's
small,
easier
thank
than the
God for
dune.
small miracles.
All right, Deirdre from planning, do you have any information you'd like to put on record?
There is precedent. The only thing was the shed didn't have precedent, but like he explained, based on where the definition for height is being taken, the shed's technically still within the 14 feet height.
So planning has no objection to that, Natasha. Great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
Just for the record, I have a letter of support from a neighbor at 2426 Schooner Walk, Christopher Herron, in full support of the application. And Glenn, we have Jamie Winkler here. Did she want to speak in support?
I won't speak for her, but of course, we'd like to hear from her. We did reach out to all the neighbors and did speak with Jamie as well.
Let's see. Jamie, we'd love to hear from you.
I have no objection.
Okay, thank you, Jamie.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Thomas, I didn't butcher your name too badly, did I?
It's my middle name now. That's my main name. That's okay.
I know, but still, I gave it my best
Great.
shot. I apologize if I did.
Before I
can you
looked
give us-
at the calendar, I said, how do you butcher Thomas? But then I looked at
Always joke
Listen,
that's
I'm
why
real
I married him.
I'm real curious. How do you pronounce it? Can you please pronounce it for me?
Skripnichenko. It's very phonetic, very long and intimidating.
That
Where-
sounds simple enough once it's sounded out.
Yeah,
what is the derivation of that name?
It's
Irish.
Ukrainian.
Irish.
What is it?
Everything's Irish.
What is
Ukrainian.
it? Check.
Ukrainian.
Ukrainian.
Very nice.
That's a nice
Okay.
name.
Well,
All right, is anyone wish to be heard in
glad
this
you're safe
application?
here.
Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion. We grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Application granted. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you. Next application has been adjourned from December 8th, 2020. John LaCitra, permission to erect a 1-story addition and 2-story addition with roof terrace having a side yard of 10.1 feet instead of the required 14 feet, and to erect 1-story addition having a side yard of 10.1 feet instead of the required 14 feet, leaving total side yards of 22.2 feet instead of required 28 feet, and to leave driveway on side property line, not having a required setback of 4 feet, Residence B District, north side of Easy Street, number 131, 90.17 feet east of Hillside Avenue through Lot to Amelia Place, West Sayville, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
I am, yes.
And you are?
Excuse me, Danny Tanzi. I'm the architect for the project, 146 Foster Avenue, Sayville, New York.
How are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
Good. Stage case.
We sought relief a few weeks back from the board for we're proposing an addition, or single-story addition to the rear of the existing residence. We're proposing a 10.1 foot setback from the side yard. On both sides, the existing residence is currently 10.1 feet from the east side property line, and we're proposing a single-story addition to the west side and north side of the property.
Why did we adjourn last time? Do you recall?
We had we were proposing the addition originally 4 feet from the property line, and
So you've improved it significantly.
You saw the light.
we did.
Great. So 10-1 instead of 14. 10-1 instead of 14 total side yards. Okay. Driveway on side property line, not having required setback of 4 feet. It's just on that one portion of the property there.
Correct. That's existing.
And that's existing, and that seems to be it, right?
Correct.
Deirdre from planning, any objection?
There is precedent for 10.1 side yard, so no objections.
Great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
You're on mute, Mr. Sullivan.
Oh, I am. I'm sorry. I move to grant the application. I apologize.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Good luck.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You
Next
too.
application number 67-21, Carlos Tenazaka. Permission to leave one-story and two-story additions resulting in floor area ratio of 29.9% instead of the permitted 25%, and to leave a staircase and second-story entrance platform having a side yard of 12.9 feet instead of the required 14 feet. Residence A District, east side of Winnie Lane, number 47, 65.63 feet north of Tabor Street, Brentwood. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
The applicant's representative is here, and I would just ask you if when we're done with this application, we can go back to the second call to the first item of the night.
There's only a couple more left.
Right, but the last might be a little lengthy.
All right, so we'll call it before the last one.
Thank you. Miguel, are you with us? There we go. Oh, Miguel and
Hi,
the,
how you doing? I'm Miguel, yes.
good, and you have the applicant's
The deponent for Mr. Carlos Tenazaka, just in case you got an architectural questions, whatever.
Okay.
Name and address for the record, sir. I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
I'm sorry, the address?
The name and address for the record. Your name.
Okay,
and-
my name is Miguel Ramirez. The address is 33 Lamont Place in West Babylon, New York, 11704.
Great. You're here seeking a little relief on floor area ratio, which code says 25. We give up to 30. You're at 29.9, right under the threshold. And you have a staircase and a second story entrance platform of the side of 12.9 instead of 14. Doesn't seem like that's too large of a relief. Deirdre from planning, do we have relief for that side yard?
No precedent for it, but no objections either.
It's just the stairwell and the deck, right? The little short
Yeah.
area, not the full deck?
Yep.
All right. Great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Just a little housekeeping.
Name and address for the record.
That's funny. I wish I was at my home address. Mr. Tenazaka is an accessory apartment applicant or recipient of ours. He has an accessory apartment at this address and has had it since 2010. So not necessarily an issue, but the house just did get substantially larger. And we noticed that upon invitation to renew that accessory apartment about 1 year ago. So we've held up the accessory apartment renewal pending this board's consideration of this part of the application. So I would just like to ask Miguel Ramirez, can you state for us that the accessory apartment, which we approved in 2010 and have been renewing every 3 years since, that the size of that accessory apartment has not changed?
No, it remains the same size.
Great.
Yeah,
So
the space, the ground of this application is only for Mr. Tenazaka use.
Okay.
The accessory apartment is gonna remain the same, yes.
Okay. Okay. And is that your client with you, behind you?
Yeah, he's just right
Okay.
here.
Hi.
Carlos Tenazaka.
Okay. So hi, Carlos. So the apartment, as it always has been, it's in the area of the 2-car garage that I'm indicating right here on the drawing?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, very good. Then we have your renewal application, like I said, that you mailed in about 1 year ago. So in due time, the board will get to it and renew that for another 3 years. But not tonight, because we didn't advertise it.
Great. Thank you, Mary. Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Nicoli, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Tengo una pregunta.
Second.
Second, yeah, motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted.
Good night, thank you.
All right, our next application, number 68-21, Saxon Sunrise Realty LLC, permission to install a facial sign having a sign area of 40.35 square feet instead of permitted 32 square feet, Business 3 District, southeast corner of Sunrise Highway number 2052 and Saxon Avenue, Bay Shore, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Mr. Messina, excuse me, I'm just going to excuse myself for one quick second.
All right. I'll behave myself in your absence, sir. All right. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Yes, I am. My name is Lydia Jimenez at 71 Hanrahan Avenue, Farmingville, New York, 11738.
Okay, thank you very much. You want to tell us a little bit about your application, please?
We're looking to install a sign at 40.32 square feet, 35 square feet. We're asking for a relief of 8.35 square feet.
Okay. And anything else you'd like us to know?
The sign is has a raceway which will match the building facade.
Mhm.
And it states that there's a sign band, but that's actually the building facade, not the sign band.
Understood. Okay, any questions from the board on this application? Planning, do you wish to be heard?
Just to say that there's no objections. They're just kind of, the reason why they need to come to the board in general is because
I understand.
all the other storefronts there are, I believe, business, so they're allowed actually more square feet. So they're
Right.
kind of hindered because they're an office, even though that's the amount that we would let normally, and it's the sign type that we like. So no objections.
Okay. Anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this application? There being no one else, Mr. Wexler, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Application granted. Thank you. Application number 69-21, Jennifer Hoffman, permission to leave semi-in-ground pool having a side yard of 0.2 feet and a rear yard of 5.7 feet instead of the required 14 feet each. Leave pool deck having a rear yard of 2 feet and relocate to side property line not having required setback of 6 feet each. Residence A District, south side of Capri Road, number 414, 61.58 feet west of Udall Road, West Islip. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
She's here. Let's see if she needs a little help.
Mr. Chairman, you're back.
I'm
I
back, sir.
cede the con to you, sir.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Ah.
My video is not working.
Wow.
There you go.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Jennifer Hoffman, 414 Capri Road, West Islip, New York, 11795.
How are you tonight?
I'm well. How are you?
All right. You have a semi in the ground pool, a
Yes.
bit too close to the rear and side property lines.
Yes.
How long has that been there?
Approximately over 19, 20 years.
Did you
Same
build it?
pool?
I'm sorry?
The same pool?
Yes.
And I'm assuming it was built without a permit.
Yes, my ex-husband did it. And I'm left hanging, holding the bag, basically, I guess.
What is on the east side of the property? Looks like Udall Road.
Well, Udall Road is the road there, yes, but that's my neighbor, Rose's home.
Wow.
And then the house, to the south, that's, they use that house as a rental.
Looks
but
like
the
they have
owner-
something in the back too, right? The house to the south. Is that a pool? Is that a boat? What
Oh,
is
that's his
that?
boat. His boat
Okay.
is there during the winter.
Thank you.
Wow.
You know, Ms. Hoffman, that I'm assuming, and I'm going to ask Deirdre this from planning, that there is no precedence for a side yard of 0.2 instead of 14. I believe that there's no precedent for 5.7 on the rear instead of 14 for a pool. As you've heard throughout the night, we would need some good argument to say that you're allowed to leave this pool at 0.2 feet when we tell people all day long, every week, that they can't, they can't vary that much of a side or a rear yard for a pool.
And I'm surprised that it's only that amount of feet, because I know there's a retaining wall on the other side of the fence that we have back there that I believe is our property.
It's not.
It's not.
Because there's a retaining wall going across the whole backyard.
Yeah, the survey shows that that's on your neighbor's property, not yours.
The retaining wall, I'm talking about the south side.
Yes.
It's your survey.
It appears, ma'am, that your property, I guess, southern property line is not perpendicular to the other property lines and cuts in. However, whoever built the retaining wall appeared to have acted as if it was perpendicular.
Look,
Well,
the bigger problem is you're 0.2 feet away from your property line.
Yeah, I just did some,
Insurmountable.
I just
frankly.
did some math. That may be a record, at least for the board. That is a 98.58% relaxation. We'd have to throw the code out. I mean, it's a 98.58 relaxation. It's what is it, like an inch and a half off the property line?
Yeah, well, that it is tight. And the pool deck, 3 out of 2 feet, and and to relocate the side property line, not a required setback 6 feet. Obviously, we have no jurisdiction outside your property line, and that wood fence is off of your property line on your neighbors.
So my neighbor, I have spoken with her because I wasn't aware that this was the situation. Now, if I had a letter from her, or how could I go about acquiring
Nothing from her that she could do can help you.
Ma'am, how did you end up here?
I don't know.
I mean, did you go to legalize a permit? Are you selling the house?
Oh, no.
Solar panels.
Oh, solar panels.
Well, I had put my solar panels in. I went to the town. Well, they did all the paperwork.
There you go.
And I guess this is what it led to.
There you go.
Oh, man, what I recommend for the board is maybe we can reserve decision and do a little bit of research and see where we can see if there's anything in that we possibly could do to assist in this.
I think that's a good idea.
Situation.
Okay.
Ms. Hoffman, are you in any rush? We have 62 days by law to render a decision.
On my end, what can I do? I mean, is there anything I can do with my neighbor? I don't even know what to do.
We don't have any photos. If you can email us in some photos, that would be helpful.
And what would you like photos exactly of?
The whole area.
Everything.
Everything.
The other side.
Everything that's highlighted yellow.
Okay.
And from different perspectives as well, please.
Okay.
Maybe if you can get into your neighbor's yard and take a picture from her end into.
With her permission.
With her permission.
With her permission.
Yeah, that's coming up next.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Does anyone wish to be heard?
I'm just going to get pictures and I'm going to email them to where?
To Mary. Mary, does she have your email address to zoning board, or you want to give her a phone number to call in?
Actually, ma'am, why don't you give Ms. Passaro your email
She
address?
hasn't. We emailed tonight. I had to help
okay.
her register. That was me.
That's fine.
Okay. And then I guess I'll wait to hear from you.
Yeah, we're gonna review records in the town and review your area and see if there's. I'm not trying to give you any false hope here, but we're gonna take a peek at it and take a little deeper into it. This is an extreme case here, so we have to take a look at all angles.
Yeah, when I saw the measurements, I was quite surprised myself. So, but it's been there, I think it's about 20 years now.
Sure.
I have replaced the liner.
Sure.
I had to put boards on my deck, but it's all the existing foundation that was there. But I had to put new boards because they were rotting.
Sure.
But-
Chairman, I'll make a motion to reserve decision.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, does this, we reserve decision, we have 62 days, get those pictures into us and we'll do the best we can.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate it.
All right, have a great day.
Ms. Passaro, we're now going to recall, is there one or the other or both of them that need to be?
The one that is here is the first application, 57-21.
Okay, So 57-21, recalling application. Elizabeth McCarthy, permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code 68-602 and to leave egress window, having a front yard of 20.5 feet instead of permitted encroachment setback of 22 feet, Residence B District, south side of East Cedar Street, number 12, 300 feet west of Prospect Avenue, Central Islip. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Good
Roxanne
evening, Ms.
Chola. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say good evening. That's it.
Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York.
Good. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, thanks.
We're here to establish an accessory apartment. The apartment is 300 square feet. The home is owner occupied, and the driveway fits all of the requirements, but engineering denied it for a road work permit for the pavers being in the right of way. So we're working on that permit, and then the engineering will approve the driveway. And then we're also here for a egress window well, which is in the front yard, 20.5 feet instead of the permitted 22 feet.
All right, great. Everything's in order, Mayor?
Everything's in order. The apartment is small. Only it's Roxanne, I have it is it exactly 300 square feet?
Yeah, looks like it.
Well, we hope so.
Yes.
All right, does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted.
Okay,
Have a good
next one is adjourned. Is that correct, Ms. Passaro? Number 2?
Oh, yes, that was Roxanne's case as well. That's been adjourned to March 23rd.
Thank you. All right, our last application of the evening, pursuant to an order of the Supreme Court of the State of New York, number 070-21, Givens and Associates LLC, permission to leave roof deck 10 feet by 17.5 feet, having front yard of 8 feet instead of the required 25 feet, to leave accessory building 10.2 feet by 16.2 feet attached to a roof over hot tub, having a second front yard of 55 feet instead of the required 60 feet, and a rear yard of 1 foot instead of the required 10 feet, to leave outdoor shower and shed 8.2 feet by 10.1 feet, having a second front yard of 56 feet instead of required 60 feet, and to leave a deck having a second front yard of 14 feet and rear yard of 1 foot instead of the required 15 feet each. Residence B AA District, northeast corner of Frigate Roadway, number 350, and 25-foot right-of-way, Philocalio Walk, Cornell Estates. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Good evening, Patricia Stern from Shire and Stern, 110 Lake Avenue South, Suite 46, Nisconset, New York, 11767 for the applicant Givens and Associate LLC. And I believe my client is also somewhere in the Zoom world.
Ether.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion at this time that we incorporate the minutes of the prior hearing into this hearing.
I agree. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Ms. Stern, state your case.
Okay, so at the outset, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity for this hearing, this rehearing. I'd also like to advise the board that in connection with an agreement reached with some of the neighboring property owners, the applicant has agreed to withdraw the application regarding the roof deck. He's willing to remove that structure.
All right, so you'd like to amend the call in the meeting regarding the roof deck?
Yes, I would.
Motion.
Permission to
Second.
leave. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So the application that was filed sought alternative relief. At first, the first relief we were seeking was a determination that not the second story deck, but that the accessory building 10.2 by 16.2, which with the attached to roof over hot tub and outdoor shower and shed, existed at the time of the issuance of the C of O on July 24th, 1981, and or the certificate of compliance issued October 18th, 1984. So they should be considered as legalized structures under those particular documents. We submitted in support of that a copy of the survey dated 1982, which shows all three of those structures. We also submitted a copy of the certificate of occupancy dated 1981 and the certificate of occupancy dated 1984. we believe that in 1981, when those structures were constructed, that this was not considered a corner lot because there was no such provision in the code at that time. Phyla Walk is a right of way, and at that time, a right of way was not considered a road for corner lot purposes.
Ms. Stern,
Therefore,
all of the COs and CFCs you just cited, they're all in our file, right? They're all in the record?
yes, they
Okay,
were
thank you.
provided with the, with the application.
Thank you.
Therefore, we do.
I believe last time your client, I believe, if I remember correctly, stated that this was used, this accessory building, if it's the same one I'm talking about, was used as living space.
Indeed.
Rent-
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, he did. He's also willing to, he's reached an agreement with the neighboring owners, just so you're aware. He's willing to covenant with written covenants and restrictions that it will not be used for that purpose. At the time he was subletting the property out to, he was leasing the property out to somebody. That person was subletting it out to other people, and they were allowing that. He wasn't aware of it until, the neighbors advised him of it. He has put a stop to that, obviously, but unfortunately, it is what it was.
I agree with what you're saying from your client, but I think I read through this, and I believe he stated he has rented it out from time to time.
We were slightly incredulous, as I recall, Mr. Chairman.
That's why sometimes you need a lawyer at your hearing, which is why we're here.
Yeah, in
Mr.
my view,
Chairman,
you
if-
always do. I'm sorry, Mr.
If somebody
Always.
could answer, I don't know, why is this coming back to the Supreme Court? What action occurred there?
So we brought an Article 78 proceeding seeking either a determination that the decision was arbitrary and capricious, or we requested a rehearing, and based on a settlement between us and the board, we agreed to a rehearing, although the prior decision was not to be used, against my client in any way.
So, Ms. Stern, you said we were arbitrary and capricious, this board?
I allege that, I did have to.
How dare you, madam?
Ms. Stern, I'm reading this, I guess, the homeowners of Cornelia Estates and your client, I guess, this meeting of the minds, and there appears to be 5
Yes,
separate issues.
so my client's willing to take down the roof deck. That was agreed upon.
That has something to do with us, but a lot of these do not have anything to do with us on the zoning board.
Anything to do with you, but he is willing to, if the board wants to take that into consideration, he's more than willing to do so. He'll put up the 8-foot fence. He's willing to do additional garbage removal. He has been trying to make the neighbors, happy.
Is an 8-foot fence allowed by code?
I believe on Fire Island, I checked the code. I believe on Fire Island, it is allowed on the property line as long as it's not in the front yard. So they were asking, I guess, closer to where the deck was in the back, where it's within a foot of the what is that? The westerly property line.
Is that right, Miss Ryan?
The foot.
I didn't know they allowed 8-foot fences on Fire Island.
I don't believe they do.
I could have sworn I saw that in the code.
Okay, well, we're going to find out. Ms. Ryan, is that true?
I don't believe so. I can look it up really quick, but I don't think so. I'm not too sure.
The allowance for
I was shocked myself.
the allowance for extra height is for a deer fence. And it has to be primarily open.
Right.
Yeah, it said it couldn't be more than 15% light
Correct.
preventing, but it couldn't be chain link, so I couldn't really wrap my mind around what that could
It's
possibly
chicken
be.
wire.
Wood slats.
It's chicken wire.
Oh, chicken wire?
Or
I
the-
think
yeah.
the neighbors wouldn't like that.
So really, Mr. And the only thing out of these 5 is one that has to do with anything for us to.
Well, no, that's
in my
not true.
opinion-
They want him to agree that he's not going to obviously lease out the shed out in the backyard, which,
He's
code
not
takes
legally
care
allowed
of
to.
that. He doesn't. Yeah,
He's not
exactly.
legally allowed
Code takes care of that. They seem to want some kind of a written agreement, but like I said, we're trying to be amenable.
Okay, so at least he's spoken to his neighbors, and
Yes.
that's an improvement over last time, right?
Yes, he's
Okay.
also done more than that. Frigate Walk needed to be repaired, and he not only repaired in front of his house, but he also donated to reconstruct part of Frigate Walk in front of other people's houses. There was a pool that was put together and he participated in that. So he really is trying to, make sure that the neighbors are aware that he is, going to be a good neighbor.
Well, let me just ask, I just don't have a recollection of this matter. I'm just looking at the request for the 1 foot instead of required 10 feet. That's for the hot tub?
I believe it's a frame shed. So the frame shed is 10 by, I think it looks
18,
like 15. Is that a 15?
10 by
15 or
16.
18. Yeah.
No, isn't that the accessory structure that had people living in it?
It's a pool house, yes, but he would not allow people to, he would remove, I believe it's already been done. There's nothing in there that allows people
What type
to-
of precedent do we have for that sort of relaxation?
Well, I wasn't able to find any precedent, but
So
if you
there
do
is
look
none.
at the aerial map of this area, everybody
Well,
is
you know what,
encroaching.
rather than, hang on a second, Ms. Stern, rather than us
Yes.
guessing, looking at maps, we can ask Deidre, she'll know, because this is a factual issue.
There are no accessory buildings that close.
Yeah.
The closest, even for sheds, I believe, is at least 2 feet. But that's for a shed.
Right.
So if this is counted as an accessory building, there's nothing close. If it's just a shed with like the quarters taken out, the plumbing taken out, just bare bones as a shed, then 2 feet.
So, Ms. Stern, what would be the legitimate rationale for us to grant this when there's nowhere near the precedent, not even for a shed?
Well, 2 feet and 1 feet is not that far apart.
Well, that's a
and-
shed.
That's a
This is
good
shed
answer.
also. It's
That's a
listed
good
as a shed.
answer.
He's
Why
willing to
don't
take
we-
out everything inside of it that would make it, anything other than a shed. I think
But it's 150 square feet.
okay, if we need to reduce the size of the shed, we can accommodate that.
Well, yes. And I guess if we have it reduced, it would really hinder anybody unless they're very, very small living in it.
Right. Again, he is not going to allow anyone to
I
live
know,
in the
I
shed.
know, I know you're going to say he'd be the last one to allow it, but he was the last one to allow
No.
it. Okay.
All right.
I think we should end up reserving on this anyway.
I agree. I agree. Let's take a look at it, but it is improved somewhat, and kudos to you, Ms. Stern, for getting your client to do that.
Thank you. I just want to point out that there was a prior variance application before the board in 1982. And at the time, the 10 by 8 frame shed and the shower stall and the hot tub were all located on the property. There was no requirement at that time that he seek a variance. And we believe that's because it was not treated as a corner lot. So there was no variance required.
You said
With
that.
regard to the frame shed, it was smaller at the time. So, obviously there's an issue with regard to that, but there was a frame shed there. If you look at the 1982 survey, it just grew a little.
Thank you.
Okay.
We do have somebody who I've moved to the panelist frame who'd like to be heard from the neighborhood. And Deirdre, maybe you could switch over to the photos tab. There we go. So just so that we're clear for the amendment that took place, where we've approved the request to delete from consideration the roof deck. I assume the stairs are coming down as well, correct?
Correct. They only lead to the roof deck.
Okay.
That was my assumption, yeah.
Yes, and the reason I say that is because I just want to also have on the record, because I promised the National Seashore that I would. They noticed that we had re-advertised this without referring it to them. So I explained that we have their comments from the last hearing and that this would just be simply a rehearing of the 2019 hearing.
And we incorporated that. Into
Yes,
the
we
record,
incorporated
so
it.
we're good. We're good.
Okay, well, I just wanted to let you know, because I told them I would, that their recommendation was to deny because it exceeds maximum lot occupancy. They estimate it's at 48% and their maximum is 35 that they recommend approvals for, or don't oppose, I should say. But maybe if the stairs come down, the area underneath it would come down and that would reduce the overall lot occupancy a little bit. Just saying.
Do we have any precedent for the 48% lot occupancy?
So that's not a requirement in the town of Islip. That is a National Seashore
Right.
benchmark, I guess we'll say, beyond which they won't recommend approval of applications.
And again, I'm just going to remind everybody that this has been there since 1982, and I'm not really sure when the National Seashore requirements came in. But if this is a non-conforming use, then he doesn't need approval from them.
Well, and they don't get to usurp the town zoning ordinance. So,
They can
they
recommend.
can recommend whatever they want, but it's of no consequence, no binding consequence. I
I've been
should
saying
say.
that for years. Nobody believed me.
You're absolutely correct, Mr. Nicole. We had a neighbor, Ms. Pissarro, that wanted to be heard.
We do. Let's see. I have moved Ken Citron into the panel earlier today. He did indicate
He needs to unmute himself. There you go.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
My name is Ken Citron, 51 Clipper Roadway. We own my wife and I own the house, or my wife owns the house, and I reside in it directly to the west of Givens and Associates property. As Ms. Stern indicated, we, along with another group of neighbors, has come to an agreement or a number of agreements with Mr. Givens regarding the use of the property. I'm not familiar with the Town of Islip zoning code, so it sounds from your discussion as though some of the agreements that we've made are beyond your jurisdiction. We can reach out.
Yeah, most of them have nothing to do with zoning
Right.
code.
So we can reach out to Ms. Stern directly and see if we can reach some agreement on some private covenants. And if we're able to do that, I understand from the discussion that the board is intending to adjourn this hearing, and we can try to.
No, we're not adjourning it, sir. We're going to reserve it. We have 62 days.
Are you reserving? It's not going to be.
We have 60 days by law to render a decision on that. We want to look at all the facts, and this case has been going on for a while, as you know.
Yes.
And we want to make sure we got everything straight. And Mr. Givens has put his best foot forward to reduce some of the issues on the property, and we want to take a fair look at it. And it would only be fair if we did that and given due time.
And sir, to be clear, while some of those things have nothing to do with us, that does not preclude the applicant from consenting to us placing those conditions on the property, even if it's in excess of our jurisdiction.
And that's what our hope was in submitting our agreement to the board tonight.
Understood.
Understood.
So
Appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you very much for yours.
Yeah. Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application?
I have one more issue if there's nobody else.
Go ahead.
So I just wanted to, last time during the hearing, in the decision that I alleged was arbitrary and capricious, there was a decision made or a finding made that this was a self-created hardship. And I just want to, give you a little background history of Givens and Associates. They bought this property. They were represented by an attorney. The attorney looked at what you see here and did not tell him there was any issues with regard to the permits. And they also did not tell him that there was a right of reversion to the county of Suffolk. So this property was then put into litigation for years, which is why it's taken so long for Mr. Givens to get here. The county would not allow him to bring this application because there was a dispute as to title. The title company that he purchased title insurance through went bankrupt. He ended up having to pay out of pocket for all the costs of the litigation and a substantial settlement to the county of Suffolk. So this is not a self-created hardship. This is a man that tried to do everything the right way. And unfortunately, sometimes things happen. So he has been trying since he purchased this property.
I know. Can I just say one thing? I understand, but for the record, I think Mr. Garbarino and Mr. Messina will agree with me. That is a self-created hardship, even if he blames somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, he has a right of, look, if his attorney committed malpractice, he's got some rights there. So, but we understand your point. You're saying that he didn't, it's not like he purposely created this condition.
But it still is in zoning.
I think that representation at the last hearing, because he wasn't as prepared as he could be. It came off of, I let people live in the shed. I don't follow the rules.
Well, he was candid, and we appreciated his candor.
Okay. And again, looking at the survey as an
All
attorney
right.
who's been doing this for 20 years, I would look at this survey, I would look at this C of O, and I would say, hey, this is covered. So, maybe
Okay.
the attorney didn't make as big of a mistake as he thought. He
Yeah,
did.
we're not saying anybody did anything. We're just saying that if in fact that were the case, that, the attorney made a mistake, that, he has
I'm ready to
a
make
right.
a motion, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
may I just make one last comment before the motion? The reference to the right of reversion had nothing to do with the property zoning issues. It had to do with use of the property. So the property has, as Ms. Stern has said, has been in place on its current footprint for some time. But I don't want the board to be confused that the right of reversion had anything to do with zoning violations. It was use violations.
No,
We
It
got,
wasn't even use violations, it was title. They claimed that, there was a grant involved and they said that,
Okay,
the
we
time
all
in the
agree it's
grant.
not
had run
Mr.
out.
Chairman, I'm ready to make a motion.
All right, it's the end of the night, guys. I
There
get
you
it.
go. You're getting it, Ms. Stern. All right.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you. I'll make a motion that we reserve decision.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
All right.
You have a great night,
Thank you,
Mr. Stern. You'll be
gentlemen.
hearing from us.
So long.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Ciao.
Ms. Pissarro, is there anything to read in?
Do I need to say anything?
No, we're all done. The hearing's done.
Okay.
Ms. Pissarro, is there anything to read in? Can't hear you.
I can hear her through the wall.
All right, everybody. All right. Goodness gracious.
Come on now.
Thank you, gentlemen. God, thank God there were no ladies involved. Let's see. Give me a second, everyone. Okay. We have 10 accessory apartments to renew for a period of
All right.
3 years.
Can I just say, Marianne, you keep sending the stuff for this. Marianne, you there? You keep sending the stuff to my old email address. So can you just update it for next time, please?
Oh, that must have been me, Vinny.
No, it comes from Marianne, the cheat sheets.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, we have to drop that off the history.
I understand. I just wanted to mention it while I thought of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't even get the cheat sheet this week.
No, we don't have one because it's only one case, and we had a late.
Look at that. It's Mary's computer.
It was a late, last-minute call to read it in after discussion with council. But first, we have 10 accessory apartment renewals,
Motion.
Second.
All in
Aye.
favor?
All right.
and with any luck, everyone, we'll have a code amendment not too distant future, which will allow us to do our two-family use onlys this way as well. Does anybody have any objection to that?
Bit of late to ask, no?
How long is that taking?
So we haven't even, Will and I have to
30
work.
years.
But if none of you have noticed, since the beginning of the pandemic, our first virtual hearing on May 5, I guess we've had, what, about 30 hearings since then, or 25? We haven't had any two-family use only renewals. I just didn't have the heart to
Put them
teach
through it.
teach them all how to do it. So they're just stayed here.
No
So
worries.
I would like to start renewing them, treating them as public session renewals, just like we do the accessory apartments, but it'll take a code amendment.
Okay, what else you got now that you've editorialized?
We have one reserved decision that is ripe and ready to be read into the record. It is the application that was presented by John Zolo about 2 months ago. It was a substandard lot in Ronkonkoma. The name of the applicant is Bilal Ali Latif. Just for the board's refresher, it had been denied by the zoning board in the late 1980s, I believe, substandard lot denial. It was a 2-story home that was proposed at that time. It was Article 78'd. We were upheld. In the early 90s, somebody tried to get a rehearing. I believe they offered to build a 1-story house, and the then board in the early 90s denied that rehearing request. I don't believe there was any Article 78 filed on that denial. This applicant purchased the property a couple of years ago. Somebody wrote a zoning denial, and he attempted to file here with the zoning denial to build on the substandard lot. And we had no choice but to reject the filing of the application at the counter and ask the applicant to file a letter seeking a rehearing. We presented that to the board, and the board denied the rehearing request. The applicant then retained counsel, and I believe that case was settled, and the council was given the opportunity to present the instant case that's on reserve.
Okay.
Um,
Do we have a proposed decision?
You do have a proposed decision. I'll
Which
read-
is, thank you.
Application number 553-20, Bilal Ali Latif. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated February 2nd, 2021, the application is denied on motion of.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to adjourn the hearing at this time.